Welcome back to the Standpoint Real Estate YouTube channel. I'm here with Saniya Khan of the Off-Plan team.
Hello, hi.
So today we're going to discuss the differences between off-plan and the secondary market. Okay, I do secondary, as you guys already know from my first video, my interview. So Saniya, you do the off-plan?
Yeah.
Okay, so firstly, just describe to me what the off-plan market is for people that don't know.
Okay, so the off-plan market is basically where it's directly given from the developer.
Okay.
There's no one else involved in it. It's directly made with the developer, and then you just get it directly from the developer as well. There's no third party involved at all.
Okay, so what is a third party?
A third party, for instance, another person who's bought the property or anything of that sort. So we don't really call it as a off-plan thing.
Okay.
Many people use the word, oh, it's an off-plan market. No, we use the word primary because it's just prime. It is coming only from one person.
Yeah.
You can't get it from anyone else.
Okay, so it makes sense because I work in the secondary market. So primary and secondary market. Okay, so for you guys that don't know, the secondary market is completely opposite to what the primary market is with what you work in. Okay, so secondary market, there's a buyer and there's also a seller who owns a property. You know, in various situations, the buyer would have to contact an agent, such as myself, and then we would liaise between the buyer and the seller. In most instances, another agent could also have the seller. I could look after the buyer, and then you could do the deal that way. Okay, so that's how the secondary market works. I mean, so what we'll go into is the prices now. Okay, so the difference between payment terms. So let's start with you. So what are the payment terms for like the primary market?
So when it comes to the payment plans and stuff, it varies from developer to developer.
Okay.
Some developers like a 60-40 payment plan. Some like it 50-50. And what I mean by 50-50 or 60-40 is 60% during construction,
Sure.
40% either on handover or post handover.
Okay.
So we have quite a few options when it comes to primary market.
Yep.
You have the option of either paying the whole thing at once in the start, which gives you a discount.
Sure.
You pay half of it, which also gives you a discount. Or if you want to go with something that's already given by the developer and go according to the developer's payment plan, for instance, 60-40, you pay 24% in the start, which is 20 down payment and 4% DLD. Okay. Because we have to give that no matter what.
Sure you do.
And then for the rest of the structure, you pay 1% either per month or per quarter. It becomes 5%. Okay. And then when it's handed over, when you've gotten the key, you have to give the rest of the 40%. Or in some cases, very rarely with some developers, it goes to a post-handover payment plan. So you can get the key, you can live in the property, you could rent it out, get your rent and pay the payment plan through the rent or by yourself.
Okay, so that's actually quite a good option. Mm-hmm. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, but you cannot get a mortgage.
No, unfortunately you can't.
Why is that?
So the rule with mortgage cases when it comes to real estate is the bank has to go and evaluate a unit. Because it's the primary market, it's not constructed yet. Right. The bank agents have nowhere to go to evaluate the unit. Okay. So they can't really get an evaluation as to, okay, this property will cost this much. We can give you a mortgage for this much.
Right. Okay. So where it works with the secondary market is, again, the complete opposite to the primary, which is perfect because this is what a lot of people don't understand. Okay, so you have less payment terms in terms of what you can do. You can't do no payment plans, unfortunately. So with that, you have really two ways to pay. You either pay cash, which is a manager's check directly from your bank account, which is the full price of the property, or you get a mortgage. So you finance the property from the bank. So you have to get your pre-approval. You then have to get an evaluation done on the property. If that matches up, then you'd have to pay the 20% for the mortgage, and then 80% of the mortgage value would then go towards the property. So that way it's more accessible in terms of if you don't want to do a payment plan and put your money into an off-plan opportunity, but you could also pay it off monthly installments and then owe the bank the money.
But that's good, right? For your clients. I mean,
it's good, but also I think that the best way to pay is always cash. Cash is king.
That is like a dream.
Of course, it is the dream, and that's how it works. The banks are there to help you out when you can't pay cash and you're not in a position to pay cash.
Exactly.
So I want to go on to now, this leads us perfectly into the target audiences.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'll start with the secondary market. So the target audience is much more broad, I would say, of a bigger target audience.
Okay, that's interesting.
Wow. Yeah, because you'd have investors, you could have end users, and you could also have people that renovate and flip. Okay. So they're sort of the investors too.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like long-term investors and you have short-term investors. You have people, so the investors would be like I say, the ones that renovate and flip on the short term. They'd buy it under market because it's run down, potentially an old building. They'd buy it, renovate it, and then they would sell it back to the market again once it's completely renovated. You also have the long-term investors, which would buy a property at a good rental yield, and then they would rent it either long-term or short-term so that they would have a constant cash flow. Okay. And then also you have the end users that would buy because they want to live there. They want to live there for their family, or they want to move their family, or they have family that are coming over and they would want to buy them a property so that they could live. Whereas on the other hand, your target audience
is just two. It's either end users or investors. We only have these two.
End users can buy?
Yes. So sometimes it happens where they are international clients.
Sure.
That aren't really planning on living here immediately.
Okay.
So they buy something that is very close to a handover still from the primary market.
Okay.
From a few developers. It's very rare, but it happens where they're just like, we have the money, we're planning to shift there. Maybe someone's got a job here and they're like, it's okay if it's ready in 6 months' time or 8. Obviously, the duration increases.
Yeah.
They don't expect it to be ready to live in within a month.
Yeah.
So that extends.
Of course.
But mostly we have the investors in the market for primary because obviously there's this capital appreciation when it comes to primary market, which is a lot more better, I think, personal opinion. Because see, with the primary market, there's always a wait for 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, maybe even more than that.
And that depends on developers, right?
Completely on the
cool.
developers, like completely.
Yeah.
You cannot get wrong with that.
Right.
So they always give you a heads up. Obviously, if you're buying a property, they will tell you that, our expected handover should be this year. Once we get close to that, they pick out a quarter. They either tell you it's Q1 or Q4. They let you know about that. So because of that wait, the price of the property will increase, which is why I always suggest my clients to go for the off-plan units or the primary market, because you buy it at a value which is the right market price.
Yeah.
But then 6 months later, 8 months later, if the location is right, if the unit is good, if the developer is good, the prices just keep going higher and higher.
That's what we're seeing at the moment, which is lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, capital appreciation, I definitely agree with you in terms of the capital appreciation from buying early on the project. So, as soon as the launch happens, a lot of the investors I've heard of going to these launch events, and they have their sort of premium entry, so they could have first access to these locations. And those are the ones that are making the most capital appreciation, but they also have the biggest risk, which is what I get onto next. Okay. So there's always a trade-off, but there's always a benefit to off-plan. There's also a benefit to secondary. There's also a risk to off-plan, and there's also a risk to secondary. So before we get into the risks of off-plan, I just want to discuss the risks of the secondary market. Okay. Well, with the secondary market, you are very much reliant on the seller.
Yeah.
So it's my job and other agents' jobs here in Dubai to sort of evaluate the situation for our clients and our buyers. So nobody wants to go into a property that's been flood damaged or had leakage from rain or various other things we cannot control. Okay. So there was a big issue before with some secondary properties that were having a lot of sun damage, because here in Dubai it's red hot in the summer. I mean, last 2024, I think the top was like 48 degrees Celsius, right? And some of these properties aren't ready for that sort of heat all year round. Although they should be, they weren't. So there was a lot of sun damage. And also we had that bloody flash flood in April of 2024. Nobody expected that.
Oh.
I mean, it brought the whole of the UAE to an absolute standstill.
Yeah.
People were stuck in homes. I mean, people couldn't do anything. I mean, people can't drive the best when it's raining, let alone when it's flooded. So there's a lot of risk behind the secondary market. So before I went off on a tangent, I did have a topic of properly. So the risk of the seller not looking after the property in the right way. I mean, so I've seen it beforehand. I've had personal experiences with this where the sellers decided that they don't have the money to completely strip back the walls from the mold. So they've decided that painting over this mold would mask it just enough so that the buyer would come in, buy the property, and then find the problem.
Okay, that is bad.
That's a big risk, right? That's a huge risk. And that's the worst risk that I can come up with right now. So do you have any risks in the off-plan market?
Yes. Obviously, everything has a good side. Everything has a bad side.
Yeah.
So obviously, primary also has its flaws.
Of course.
The major flaw that I can think of that I know most of my clients, not most, some of my clients have faced, is although it was like a very well-known developer in the market also, sometimes can delay projects. So, you know how I've mentioned before that they say that, you know what, you're going to get your handover, for example, 2028.
Yeah.
Right? And something happens, something goes wrong from their side or not, no idea.
Okay.
And it can extend to maybe 2029.
Right.
Which does cause a little bit of a problem to the clients.
Well, surely a lot of friction, right?
Yeah, it does. Because obviously the clients then and the owners of those properties then pull back from those developers.
Yeah.
And then the developer's name goes down in the market.
Sure.
So it's obviously not good. It's like a circle. It's like a chain.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
A domino effect.
Fair. Okay. So reputation.
Major thing.
Exactly. So in your world, off-plan primary market world, the reputation is mainly set on the developer.
Yes. It's the same thing, I think, like the secondary market. I believe you work in the Palm, right?
Yeah.
You do your job very well.
Yeah.
You're well known in the market for that area.
Right.
So when there are clients contacting you, they know what to expect from you.
Yeah.
Right? Professionalism, a structure in working conditions, and everything of that sort.
Yeah.
Proper communication. And somewhere or the other, I think trust. That's the first thing
That's the only thing I strive for is trust and honesty.
Exactly.
For sure.
So when it comes to a developer, it's the same thing. If their name goes down in the market, whether it be delay, whether it be the conditions of their units that they've handed over, or anything of that sort, if that name goes down, clients are going to pull back because they're not going to trust them.
I agree. Yeah, of course. Okay. So, in your opinion, only your opinion, as a primary market agent, what are the top 3 developers that you would recommend to clients based on their reputation in the market and based on your experiences with those developers?
That's a really good question. Imar, always.
Okay.
I don't know, something about their units it's just classy for me. There is obviously Marginal for them. That's one of my best because I live in one of Marginal for them's developments.
Okay.
So I'm very happy with that.
Obviously.
The units are very spacious. So it's when I'm seeing these developers' names, I'm not saying it from my perspective as much. I'm saying it from my clients' perspectives.
Okay.
So when it comes to Marginal for them, I love their spaces, how the layout is, and the options they give to the clients to renovate them. Okay. With Imar, I love how the locations of their units are, and it screams luxury. I mean, Imar, you think of Burj Khalifa.
Yeah, of course.
It's a direct connection over there.
Absolutely.
So you can't really go wrong with Imar.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
So that's 2. I need one more. Just one more good developer.
This is someone I've just recently got back to.
Okay.
I had a little fallout with them.
Okay. Damak. Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, because in the middle, around last year, the year prior to that, their name did go down a little in the market because of the units that they were giving. Right. The furniture that they were using, the materials that they were using, apparently to the clients were not good enough. But they've gotten back out of it because, I don't know if you know, but the daughter has taken over the Mac. So she's completely changed the whole idea of the Mac. Amazing. And the name the Mac revolves only around real estate, majorly.
Yeah, of course.
So she's taken over the real estate market.
Amazing.
And she has a whole new goal. She's using high-end quality, really good ideas when it comes to launches. For example, I don't know if you've heard the Mac Islands.
I have.
It's a lovely idea.
Yeah, I have.
So
I don't know a lot about it, but I've heard the name. I mean, everyone speaks about it in the office, so it's one of the best ones I'm hearing. It's one of the best ones from Damak at the moment. Cool. Okay, so let's talk now about the limitations of customization.
Yeah.
Okay. So from what I understand from the various conversations I've had with off-plan agents inside the office, outside the office, and during my network of being here in Dubai, I feel like there's a lot of limitations from off-plan side to my side.
That is obviously there. When it comes to some developers, they don't really give you an option. Yeah. When I say option, I mean, you can't really customize it. They give you, because you have nothing to see. They either have a show unit, which is like a 90-80 replication of what you might get. Yeah. Or there are pictures in a brochure. Yeah. Yes. So you have to, it's completely almost based on your imagination. Okay. So the customization options are not that much. But sometimes, like some developers, for instance, Marginal for them, with their Tilal al-Gaf properties, they've actually given this liberty to clients where they're like, what kind of small modifications, like what kind of tiles do you want? Do you want a closed kitchen? Do you want an open kitchen?
Right.
Which is a major thing, I think, in the secondary market.
That's all we look for.
I think many clients come up to you.
It's one of the biggest points that I've had to deal with. With a lot of so with Palm Jumeirah, I work is mainly Nikhil. Nikhil is the developer, and when they built their properties, they all had closed kitchens mainly, and it took away a lot of the space from the whole apartment. Okay, so what's really interesting is everybody wants to do the island now in the kitchen. Everyone wants an island because it's very versatile. Okay, so you can. There's a property that I have in Al Bazoo on Palm Jumeirah. It's beautifully upgraded. They've done an amazing job, and they've used the island to add more space to the kitchen in terms of the washing machine and the dryer. Okay, so they've hidden the washing machine and the dryer away. Okay. Whereas usually you'd have to have it under a counter facing out into the living room. So they've hidden that away underneath the island now. So they've used the extra space that they wouldn't have had with it being closed and having a server's port to add some more extra space, which is perfect. And also you have the countertop, which you can then provide food with, service, and, entertaining guests.
Yeah, that's really interesting for me. Because when my clients, especially the investors, when they have been given this option that do you want an open kitchen, do you want a closed kitchen, they don't think from their perspective. They think as to what the market wants. Because obviously their whole purpose is to either sell it or to rent it.
Yeah.
Right? So they usually go, obviously there are some nationalities that go with closed kitchens because that's what they prefer. Me as an Indian, I'm proud to say I want a closed kitchen.
I've heard you love cooking.
Yeah, and we have spices. And we don't like the whole vibe of an open kitchen. Not for all Indians, just for me personally.
I've dealt with a few Indian clients before, and they've all told me closed kitchen is always best.
Yeah.
Because of the cooking smell mainly, because it gets around the house and all that sort of thing, and keeping it inside the kitchen is always best. And plus, it takes away the noise from the living room.
Obviously.
With kids and the husband and wanting to watch incredible football or sports, they don't want to be disturbed by the cooking sounds. So I get it. I get both sides.
Yeah. But now that you've asked me that question, I want to ask you that. What are the customization options for you?
Unbelievable amounts of customization options. So secondary market, you can buy a property, like what I said earlier, finance it or cash, and you could literally walk straight into that unit. As long as you're not doing anything from the outside and you're not extending a property, you can kind of do anything you want. Anything, I would say, because as long as you're not disturbing the construction of the actual property. So I could recommend to somebody to go into the property and completely renovate the whole kitchen. So take the whole kitchen out and put a brand new kitchen, new cupboards, make it more modern, especially with the older properties that came out years and years ago. Okay, there was all dark wood. Well, now the fashion is lighter woods and white, cream, more of this style of studio room, basically. Okay, more contemporary, more modern. So a lot of people, they'll go three main things. They'll do the bathrooms, they'll do the kitchen, and they'll also do the bedrooms.
What in the bedrooms? What do they do to the bedrooms?
Well, mainly they'll refloor the bedrooms.
So flooring is very important.
Flooring is huge.
Okay.
Flooring is massive because it's something that you'll be walking on all the time, right? So if you're in the hot weather, you don't want tile because it's hot. You would want something that's more wooden.
Yeah.
Because it's conducting heat. Okay, so it doesn't hold the heat. So it just conducts it and then disperses. So it's not going to maintain its heat level, which is one big thing.
So for you, are you saying that flooring is the most important thing? Because for me, I thought It's people breaking down walls.
Yeah, not breaking down walls. I mean, so I'll go back to like the first few months of my career. I helped a client buy a villa, and they saw a previous project when they viewed another unit with me, and they had knocked down a specific wall which separated the living room to one of the bedrooms on the bottom floor. Okay. Well, when they knocked that down, it opened up the whole space. Again, the more open plan look. Everybody wants that now, which is perfect, right? So that's not a retaining wall. So it's not a wall that the construction is based on where if you took it out, the ceiling would fall through. Okay. So with that wall taken out, they had an abundance of space. Okay. So that was one thing that they did instantly. They removed 2 walls, which allowed them to have a lot more space in the living room.
Okay.
Open it up completely. Okay. So it depends on who the customer is for me. Like I say, the 3 main ones are the bathroom, the bedroom, and the kitchen, because they're the investors. They're the ones that want to flip it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they'll take those out and they'll re-renovate them, and then they'll want to sell back to the market. Next topic of conversation, actually, I wanted to address was the transaction costs, the fees, the money, the stuff that people have to pay in order to actually hold a property.
Okay, so when it comes to the primary market, actually there are a few steps to get to the property.
Okay.
These are good things, according to me. When there's a launch or anything happening, where the developers just launched this new project, you as a client can just give me an EOI of a specific percentage.
What's an EOI?
Expression of interest.
Okay.
That, listen, Saniya, I know this hasn't been launched. There's no details as such, except for the location. I'm interested. These are some things that only a few of my clients do that are investors, but they have specific developers they go for.
Okay.
And they invest in every single project by that developer.
Right.
And I have a few clients like that.
Well, lucky you.
With MR's new launches happening.
Hill's Edge.
Yep.
I saw it. Yeah, that's good.
They are crazy about it. They've already sent me a message saying that, you know what, Saniya, I know the launch is going to happen. I want you to go on behalf of us, because obviously it gets very crowded for them.
Trust me.
So they tell us to go book a unit.
Yeah.
Okay. And we get out of it. So we pay that interest. That, okay, listen, we are interested in this unit. Please keep this aside.
Okay.
And then it starts with the sitting and meeting with the developer, the agent from the developer's side. And then there's just down payment, DLD fee, and your payment plan starts.
So it's not a lot of really to get started in terms of buying an off plan. Yeah. Okay, good.
What about you? You seem very intrigued. I'm intrigued, actually.
I'm intrigued in the primary market, because there's a lot of fees behind.
Oh my God.
Secondary.
That stresses me out.
There's a lot of fees. I mean, I think I did a video with James, one of our colleagues, actually, and we discussed actually that you need. It's quite a good topic, actually, because clients that aren't very versed in the market will say, I've got a budget of 2 million dirham. Okay. And then when we find them a property for 2 million dirhams, 1.9 million dirhams, 1.95 million, it matches their budget that they tell me. They go, oh, I have to pay 4% DLD fee. Oh, I have to pay 2% commission plus 5% VAT. Oh, I have to pay a trustee fee of 4,200 dirhams. Oh, I have to pay a title deed fee as well. So they forget that there's all these fees on top of the actual property price. Because I've got to make my money too.
Obviously.
DLD always take a 4% fee. for doing nothing, which is always great. So it's always good to take into consideration another 7%, I would say 7% of the total property price. Okay, so let's work it on an easy example. So $1 million dirham property, you buy a property for $1 million dirhams, you then need 1,070,000.
Yeah.
1,070,000 dirhams, because then that will cover the property, that covers the 4% DLD, covers the 2% commission, it covers the title deed fee, and then the trustee fee as well, and also conveyancing, which they're all minor prices and minor fees, but they all add up, you know, and they could really push somebody over the edge.
Really?
So that's why I'm so intrigued by the off-plan market, because you don't have to pay. You ain't got to pay me a commission, no? Do I get commission from your deals?
From primary market?
From primary
Obviously.
market? But who pays that?
Developer directly.
So the developer's paying me?
Yes. So you finish a certain amount of payment. Obviously, to keep it easy, we say 24%.
Right.
So 4% DLD and 20% down payment, which then we start making the SPA.
Sure.
Which is the sales purchase agreement.
Amazing. I was about to ask you.
You're welcome. Once that is done is when we receive our commission.
Okay.
That process, I believe you guys receive your commission the same day the transfer is done.
Not necessarily. Well, yes. I mean, once the transfer happens and the owner changes, our commission is basically in our check. On a piece of paper that says, "This is your money. Thanks for helping me."
So for us, it's the other way. It takes a little longer.
A little longer? How long?
A few months.
Months?
Yeah. But the amount is quite big.
Yeah, that's something we can get onto afterwards.
Yeah, the commission rates
Wow.
differ quite a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, for us, we have to wait a little longer. But it's always like, you know, patience tastes sweeter.
Oh, it definitely does. I mean, I've seen our board, and I did a really good month, and then all of a sudden somebody came along and just did one deal, and I'm out the water already.
Yeah.
I'm blown out the water straight away.
What to do?
I mean, it's such a big problem for you guys, you know. Okay, so commission.
Before that, 1 second.
Okay.
Because you said the 4 points, but then you've also kind of confused on those points.
Go on.
So I want to ask you that question. So are there only just 4 fees?
4 payments.
4 payments.
4 fees. Yes, mainly. So there's the 4% DLD fee.
So there's 4% DLD.
There's 2% commission.
2% commission.
There's the trustee fee, which is around 4,200 dirhams.
And that's standard?
Always.
Or does that change?
It does change sometimes. Some trustees are a bit more expensive.
Okay.
Okay. And then you also have the title deed fee that you got to pay as well.
And how much is that?
It's 520 dirham.
And that's standard as well. So that doesn't change as well.
No. So the main things that those are the 4 that don't change. But then you also have like the conveyancing fee,
No,
which
that's
is so important to these deals, secondary market wise.
Wow. What do you mean by that?
Conveyancing.
Mm-hmm.
So conveyancing, I've had sticky conversations with clients before. They're asking me, why am I paying 7,350 dirham for a conveyancer? I don't know what they do. What even are they? You know? And it's my job to educate that person on what they do, because they are so vital to any deal. There are some companies, you know, that are much larger than ours that have their own conveyancing teams, so it costs less. Okay, luckily for those clients, great. But for me, we outsource our conveyancing. So conveyancing is basically like the solicitor and the legal side of things. So they allow me to do my job more efficiently. So once I've done the Form A, a Form B, and a Form F, which is the 3 forms you need for a secondary market to do a deal, and also need the various documents, etc., etc. But once that Form F is completely signed and all the documents are in and everything is ready to go, it's the conveyancer job to process the deal, and progress it along its long timeline. Sometimes it's longer than others, but it's their job then to liaise with the clients, also organize NOCs, mortgage evaluations if it's needed, if it's a finance deal, make sure that the transfer date is, works for both clients, for the seller and the buyer, and a million other things that they have to do, which I just could not handle.
So there's a lot of explaining.
There's loads of explaining because people don't want to pay extra money for something.
Everyone wants to keep their money to themselves.
It's relatively low fee, 7,000 dirham. If you're buying something for 5 million dirhams, 7,000 dirham, come on.
It's not that big.
It's not a big deal, but people still don't want to pay that money. But once I've explained it and they understand it a little bit more, then they're a little bit more happier to pay it. Mm-hmm. They're still grimacing, they're still holding on to the check a little bit tight, but they understand it. Once the process happens and they've seen it a couple of times, they're like, okay, I do understand. It takes a lot just to get the deal over the line, because the seller might go on holiday, and guess what? They're not applying for the NOC. The NOC is so important.
So there's a lot that depends on the seller.
Of course there is, because at the end of the day, if that seller's not motivated to actually sell their property, they're not in a rush to sell it, or they don't need the money, they're not going to go, right, I'm going to do everything in my power to make this happen this week.
I think that's where I'll take the point for that one. We don't have sellers.
Yeah, I know.
We have a developer who's more than happy to give his units.
Exactly. That's all they want to do.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's a much more tougher scenario, definitely, than the primary market, for sure. So, time of purchase. How long does it take for a purchase to finish completely, from initial interest to the inquiry stage? In the secondary market, we call it, whereas yours would potentially be the EOI stage, right? The expression of interest stage.
Yeah, but not as such as well, because there are some clients who aren't aware, who are just new and just want to buy something in the primary market.
Yeah.
And they are not that aware about the new launches that are coming and stuff like that. And so they decide to do the booking fee.
Okay.
So they pay, it's almost the same as an expression of interest, but this one will go directly to the developer and they will secure a unit immediately.
For you?
Yes.
Right, okay. That's cool.
See, for me, when you ask me for a timeline, I don't think it's too much, because all that the client has to do is come with me to the developer's office. I usually have a connection in the developer's office who will sit, explain, answer all the questions that they have in terms of the unit, in terms of the location,
right,
in terms of how the unit might look, if they want any changes in the payment plan, anything of that sort. And they can make the booking fee on the spot.
Wow.
And they already have a unit.
So it could be done literally within the hour of meeting the developer agent, right?
Yeah, but that's securing of a unit.
Okay.
Obviously, to get the unit, to live in the unit or to sell it, there's always that extensive 3-year wait.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that's also really nice. To me, it's like a plus point, because I think you've mentioned before that your client has to pay on the spot in the trustee office.
Yeah.
He has to pay it on the spot, no matter what the value of the unit is.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
For me, on the other hand, it's payment plans.
Yeah, sure.
For me, I think my clients like the easy way of having to pay an installment rather than to a bank.
Yeah.
They pay to the developer and they secure a unit for themselves.
Yeah.
They own a property in Dubai, UAE, which is a very big thing apparently.
Well, yeah. All the millionaires are coming over this way.
Exactly.
I mean, one thing in the news, I don't know if people are seeing it, but there was 10,000 millionaires left the UK. Just the UK, 10,000 millionaires left the UK. And who knows where they've gone? They could have gone to the US. They could have gone to the Europe. They could have gone. Most of them have come here.
Pretty sure.
Hence why the market is booming all the time in secondary.
How is it for you though?
It's it can be slow. It can be slow. It just depends on the scenario, right? So, like I mentioned earlier, if you had a very motivated seller and a very motivated buyer, you could transfer a unit within a week easily. People have done it within a few days. If you have the right contacts everywhere, you can have it done within 3 days. It's not even that big of a deal. Okay. So that's how a lot of the big clients do anything, because they have people everywhere. They have people in the queue, they have people at the DLD office, they have people that can get things done within hours of a message gets sent on WhatsApp, it gets done and it's back to them within an hour, Whereas if you had a finance seller who has a bank mortgage and you had a finance buyer who's looking to buy with a mortgage, you're asking 8 weeks before you can even get the transfer date organized. 8 weeks, it's 2 months, right?
Oh my God, 2 months.
2 months of waiting around for me to meet at the transfer at the trustee office to get my commission is a little bit long, obviously. And that's because there's a really, really long, tedious process between the banks. The banks have to be contacted. The banks take 3 to 5 working days to get back to anybody, regardless of who it is. Okay? Unless you're a massive client who has someone at the bank who knows the bank manager. Okay? I mean, there's, the guys that are normal, who live a normal life like me and you. Ordinary lives, they have to wait. Anyway, so it's 8 weeks. Maximum is 8 weeks. That's the timeline that we give as an average. Unfortunately, sometimes it does take longer because the bank doesn't get back to you. And then again, the seller might be a little bit slow to respond to emails, text messages, phone calls. So
I want to ask you a question. You're saying that it takes this long.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned mortgages. See, for me, if it takes long, it's usually because the client hasn't decided. Like, obviously, there are so many developers in Dubai. You're aware of it.
Of course.
Like, there's Nakheel, there's Damak, there's Imar, there's Azizi. So, obviously, it's not a case where all developers can be okay for one.
Yeah.
There's always like a perfect match. We have to find the shoe.
Well, yeah, we're relationship managers at the end of the day.
Exactly.
We're like Tinder.
Yeah, that we are.
Or Bumble or Hinge, whichever's your preference.
There's actually a saying in the primary market, actually, amongst agents, that we have to find the Cinderella.
The Cinderella with a shoe?
Yeah. We have the shoe.
You have the shoe, but you have to find the Cinderella for the shoe.
Yeah. So
and
we
how
go
hard is
on
that?
trying it out with everyone.
Okay.
So basically, our shoe is our client. Very bad, wrong saying, but we have what we want. We know what my client wants. But there are so many developers, so many options.
With different size feet.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that we have to find that right developer for them.
It has to be perfect.
It has to be a perfect match. So to do that, we take them to the developer's sales office. It could be an Imar's sales center. It could be the Max sales center. Until and unless they're not convinced, they're not going to pay.
Exactly the same as secondary.
Exactly. So for us, that's the only reason why it takes longer.
Yeah.
Are there other reasons for you where it might take longer?
Similar.
Other than mortgage?
Yeah, I mean, in similar ways to yours, really. They could view the property one day and really like it, put an offer in, gets accepted. We're close to the 4BEF stage. And then all of a sudden, another party of the family wants to get involved and they want to see the property themselves. So
that's happened.
Of course it happens. the wife wants to make a decision.
Wives always make the decision.
It's a joint decision, always. Unfortunately for me. So the husband in the relationship would go and communicate with me. We'd find the unit. He would love the unit. He'd be like, perfect. Matches everything I want. It's got a balcony. See the sea. I could walk to the beach. Not a problem. Great. Let's buy it. Okay. And then the wife goes, oh, I want to see the unit. I want to see what it looks like. And they walk in the unit and they go, why is the kitchen like that?
It's always the kitchen.
Why is the kitchen closed?
Oh, God.
Oh, the balcony's too small. Oh, I had a plan to put a dining table on this balcony and have 5 of us sit out there, us two and the kids. We can't do that. I don't want it. So now I'm in a massive predicament with my seller going, so that offer we agreed on, we're about to do the Form F, about to sign everything. I'm going to have to pull out with my client. And that's when the process can take even longer.
Even longer than 8 weeks.
Well, of course, because we're about to sign, but we don't sign. So I have to find him another property.
And repeat the whole process again.
And hopefully not with the wife this time. Hopefully the wife just trusts the guy. But obviously that it just goes without saying the wife's going to have an opinion.
Oh,
which I welcome. I always welcome this. I do this a lot with my clients, actually. I say, look, are you the decision maker? It can come across quite playful and sarcastic, but it's actually a genuine question, because if you're not the decision maker and you're contacting me and you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to do this, but the money is in her account, or the money, the final decisions with her, then she should be on every single viewing that we do. I should not meet you without your wife.
See, I think that's common between us. First thing that I found that's common between both of us is when we ask a client, we ask it in a very, very subtle way, actually, that, are you planning to, buy it only based on your decision?
Yeah.
Is there someone else involved?
Of course.
For example, wife in the situation.
Yeah.
So we make sure that she's there on calls, because most of our meetings either happen online.
Yeah.
It's much more easier for them.
It's less face-to-face, right?
Yeah. So when we host those meetings, we prefer for both partners to be there to make that decision. Because so it happens where, I've had a conversation with, let's say, the husband.
Yeah.
And he's already in and he loves it. And he's like, you know what, I'm going to sign the papers and, here's the interest and stuff. And then when he tells the wife has questions and he doesn't know how to answer them.
Yeah.
So I always tell my clients that please make sure that the other partner is also there.
Yeah.
Because there are questions that they can ask which you really can't answer, because I'm experienced in the field to answer those questions. The same way how you are experienced in your field to answer a certain question. Like, for example, I think the most common asked question is service charges.
Yeah, of course.
I'm pretty sure to know what the service charge is in every single building in the Palm. It's very difficult for an owner or an investor to know. But you, as an agent who is experienced, who works this job, to the best.
We have to know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's really nice. That's something that's common between both of us.
Yeah, we have to. I mean, the decision process is definitely a joint decision.
Always a joint
unfortunately. Anyway. Okay, so I think we're near the end of the video. We're near the end of the conversation. But you had a really good topic that you wanted to talk about.
Yes. I actually wanted to ask you a question.
Go on.
You better think about this one then.
I'll think about it.
Okay. You've closed deals. You've made money. You're obviously one of the best in the Palm.
Definitely not the best in the Palm.
One of
there's
the
some
best.
Really good there's some really good agents in Palm.
Okay. Well,
I'm not as good as those agents just yet. I've not been here long enough.
Okay.
But I appreciate you saying I'm the best.
Okay. So you are one of very good agents.
Good agents, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. You're a good agent in the Palm.
Yeah.
right now. You've closed deals. If you had enough money to invest and you want to invest, which market would you choose after this whole very detailed conversation that we've had about primary and secondary? Which one would you prefer?
That is a very good question. Right now in this market that we're in, I would buy in the secondary market still.
Oh, I disagree.
Yeah, okay. You would. However, my reasoning for that is because I've seen quite a few developers now increasing their prices a lot. They're increasing their prices a lot, which used to match secondary market maybe a couple years ago. So the developers for off-plan and primary market, whichever you call it, don't want you making as much money as you could back years ago, where people would buy them for 1.5 million and be able to sell them now at this time of like 5-6 million. Okay, so there's not enough profit margin in it for me. Okay, so what I could do in the secondary market is I could go to very old buildings. I mean, there's a lot of old buildings in like the marina now, like 20 plus years old that are very outdated. So I could go to one of those. I could buy one that's still standard. The owner may not have lived there ever, but standard as it came from the off-plan, the primary market, as you would say. Take it off them at a good price for them, which is probably market price now, I would say. I mean, obviously I'd want to get it under market price for sure. But to the point, I would buy it. I would then renovate it, make it modern, because these buildings need modernizing now. And then I would either live in it for a year, rent it out for 2 years maybe, get a rental income from the property, which would be higher than higher than the others in the building because it's renovated and it looks good and it sells well to the consumer. And then when it comes to the profit margin, I would be interested to make, 10-20% on top. Then I could sell in 1 to 2-3 years whilst I'm getting a rental income. Whereas in your world, I would buy a property. Yes, I wouldn't have to put as much capital into it, but I would have to wait 4, 5, 6 years to get a return back on my property. Correct me if I'm completely wrong.
See, I disagree. Obviously, I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Your reasoning is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
But again, in my opinion, I would go in a different manner. If I had the money and if I was in a place to make the decision that, now I want to return and I want to invest in the real estate market,
yeah,
I would still stick with primary. And I'll tell you my reasoning, the same way you did.
Yeah, of course.
I understand how you're saying that, the prices are a little higher now from the developers, and I agree. But for me to have to just pay 20% of it right now,
yeah,
right, and then pay around a percentage every month or every few months,
yeah,
it seems easy on me. And at any given moment, I can raise my hand. I can just be like, okay, I'm done. I think the market is really good right now. I'm going to sell it. And I'm going to get enough out of it because I haven't paid the whole thing.
No.
Nowhere have I paid the whole amount of the unit.
Yeah, cool.
I've just paid a percentage of the unit and I've sold the property.
Yeah.
So I have that amount left with me. I have gotten a profit out of it.
Yeah.
And I have enough right now in my pocket to then go and buy 2 more properties. 2 studios. The bare minimum.
That's a dream world, isn't it? That's the dream.
Yeah, but my clients have done it.
Yeah, I know.
I like it. I love the primary market.
And I love the secondary. Okay, right. So thank you very much for watching Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information from it. If there's anything you guys want to know a little bit more about, happy to drop comments in the comments below. Any questions you have for me or for Saniya, then please don't hesitate to get in touch. If you're interested in more of these videos, then please like, subscribe, and comment below anything you want to see.